Welcome back to SelloMan Boxing. Like and subscribe. Errol the Truth, the Lionheart Spence is gonna be 10 times better in the Bud Crawford rematch. Why? Stay tuned. SelloMan Boxing, welcome back. So today we're gonna be talking about why Errol Spence is gonna be 10 times better in the Bud Crawford rematch. So the first reason he's going to be better is because he won't be coming off of a layoff. Okay? Now let me get this straight. These are not excuses. Bud Crawford gets all the credit, but we're simply going over why Errol Spence is going to be 10 times better in the rematch. So the first reason is the layoff. Okay? Errol Spence is coming off of a long layoff. He last fought April of 2022. April of 2022. And before that, he was even more inactive, you know. And why do I say that? Layoffs affect fighters, man. Layoffs affect fighters. I know Errol Spence, his motto is no tune-ups, and you have to respect it. He's a warrior. He's a warrior, no tune-ups. But there's a reality of ring rust as a boxer. It doesn't matter how long you train. It doesn't matter how long you're in the gym. Once you're out of the ring, once you're out and you're not under the bright lights, it affects you. It affects your performance. It does. Okay? And Terence Crawford knows this all too well. That's why the negotiations broke down. I personally believe Terence Crawford knew that he would have been out of the ring for over a year going to face Errol Spence, and he knew that he would have ring rust. He knew that he would not be his best. So he took the Avanesian fight. And when you look at the Avanesian fight, even though Terence Crawford was way better than Avanesian, and of course he knocked him out. He knocked out David Avanesian. At the beginning of the fight, you could see that there was ring rust. Terence Crawford's reflexes were not where they need to be. And it showed. It showed. It took him some time to warm up, and as a result, he got touched more than we've seen him get touched because he was out of the ring for so long. And I was annoyed. I was upset when Terence Crawford pulled out of the negotiations to fight David Avanesian. Okay? I was upset. But now, in retrospect, looking at Errol Spence coming off of that dominant win over Ugas, and Ugas was not weak competition, he was tough competition, he was a champion, he was active, he had just come from beating Pacquiao. To see Errol Spence fight him, get his ring rust off, because Errol Spence had to get ring rust off in that fight also, and stop him, Bud Crawford knew that Errol Spence would be going into that fight with an advantage. No ring rust, just ready to fight. So that's the first reason. The layoff. Okay, that's the first reason. It's not an excuse. I'm just giving reasons why Errol Spence is gonna be 10 times better in the rematch. Reason number 2, the weight cut. I know everybody's gonna say, oh, well, he decided to sign the contract and he stayed at 47, all that, but the weight cut has been an issue for Errol Spence. And it's not just Errol Spence. If you look around, you'll see. You know what I'm saying? Devin Haney, even Shakur Stevenson, who are superb athletes, they get to the point in their career where the weight starts affecting them. The weight starts affecting them. I think that's why Errol Spence looked really drained during the fight. He looked really drained during the fight. He looked low energy. He looked like he had no power. And if you notice, Errol Spence looked super jacked leading up to the fight. His muscles looked huge. He looked great leading up to the fight, but he looked lethargic. Why? In a high caliber fight like this, as we saw last week Saturday, this Saturday gone, between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, you have to do strength and conditioning. You have to strengthen those muscles. You have to get those muscles ready to be active, okay? To be firing, to be agile, all right? To be athletic. But that comes with a cost. When you start building muscle, you hold on to weight because muscle weighs more than fat. Muscle gets heavy, right? So when it comes down to those last few pounds, speaking about a guy in Errol Spence whose walk around weight is probably around 175, when it comes down to those last few pounds to get down to 147, it becomes exceedingly difficult, okay? So that's why Errol Spence was not at his best. That's one of the reasons why he'll be better in the rematch, because it should take place at 154. Does that mean he's going to win the fight? Not necessarily, but it's going to make him 10 times better. We saw Devin Haney. He looked like a skeleton, right? He looked like a skeleton. Weight, having to pull down your weight. For example, I'm 160 pounds. It would be hell for me to go down to 147. It would be extremely painful for me to go down to 147, right? And I actually, growing up, and even early, when I was in my 20s, early 20s, I had a hard time gaining weight. But now I'm in my 30s, I'm not in the 120s anymore, I'm 160. I can't go down there. It's going to drain me. So imagine Errol Spence, a guy that could easily be 190 pounds, going down to 147. It takes a toll. It takes strength. It takes speed. It takes punch resistance. It takes alertness. So we know, no excuses, but Errol Spence is going to be better in the rematch. The third reason, preparation as far as from his coach, Derrick James. Now, Derrick James is one of the best trainers in the world. He is one of the best trainers in the world. He won Trainer of the Year. I'm not taking anything away from Derrick James. As a matter of fact, I believe that Errol Spence, one of the factors that is going to contribute to Errol Spence doing better in the rematch is because of Derrick James, right? And his boxing knowledge and IQ. But some negative factors concerning Errol Spence's preparation based on Derrick James' coaching played a factor in this fight. And what do I mean? Boxing is a jealous sport. You only get what you put in. And for a fight of this caliber, personally from the outside looking in, I don't know anything about the camps. I don't know if there was an injury, or I don't know what it was. But from the outside looking in, I can tell you this. Errol Spence did not have the best of Derrick James as a coach going into this fight. What do I mean by that? Boxing is a jealous sport. It's a jealous sport. If you don't put in the time necessary as a fighter, it's going to tell on you in the ring, because there are guys that are working harder. The same thing goes for coaches. If you don't put in the time necessary the other team can outcoach you. What do I mean by that? Derek James is one of the best trainers in the world. But within 3 weeks, he had to prepare, he had to be the coach of 3 top athletes. Frank Martin, Anthony Joshua, and Errol Spence Jr., along with Ryan Garcia popping in for training. Derek James was not fully focused on Terence Crawford for this fight. Am I saying that when he was training Errol Spence, he didn't give it 110% in the time that he had with him? No, I'm not saying that at all. I know that during the training sessions with Errol Spence, he gave Errol Spence 150%. You see, the man is in impeccable shape. He is the fittest boxing trainer out there right now, right? But the issue is, you look over at Terence Crawford's team, you don't see a lot of sharing. I'm not saying they don't work with other fighters, but for this fight in particular, you saw the whole team, all 3 of his trainers, everyone in his team focused on one thing: Errol Spence Jr. They were focused on beating him, focused on stopping him, because they saw him as a legitimate threat. I'm not saying Derek James didn't see Terence Crawford as a threat, but Terence Crawford was not the only thing on Derek James's mind. He had Dillian White on his mind. He had Artem, whatever the German kid who Frank fought, he was on his mind. Okay? Getting rounds in with Ryan Garcia was on his mind. There's only so much. I don't care how capable you are. The greatest ability in life is availability. And the fact of the matter is, Derek James was not as available for Errol Spence for this fight as he was for, like, say, the Kell Brook fight. He was not as available. His mind space was being pulled too thin, and to me, it showed. It showed. It showed. It showed. It showed. So the point I'm making is, Errol Spence, I believe he's going to be better in the rematch, because Derek James, after the Charlo fight, he'll be able to focus on Terence Crawford, focus on correcting mistakes, focus. He'll be able to focus and make it number 1. And I think both Derek James and Errol Spence will be much hungrier, much more focused, much more determined to get their lick back. All right? And the thing about it is, you know, I used to box myself, and I used to train myself, you know. And as far as putting in the time, you know, when I was probably 19 or 20, you know, I started to get really, really, really good with boxing. And one of my goals was to, you know, compete and go to the Olympics. I didn't really want to go pro, you know, as far as my dream, you know. But I started to get really good. The coach, my boxing coach, was telling me, man, if I keep going, I could go anywhere in boxing. You know, he told me I had all the talent. I started to hear it around the ring, you know, when I spar, stuff like that. Even doing the pads, everyone was like, man, this dude is so determined, he's good and stuff like that. But at the time, I was in college. And I could only go to the boxing gym, like, say, 2 or 3 times a week. So I was talking to this older friend of mine who used to box, and I asked him, I said, do you think I should go for it? Do you think I should pursue boxing? And he was like, nope. So I was like, what? Why? He said, I told him everyone is saying I'm good. He was like, look, man, you coming into the boxing gym 3 days a week, okay? There are guys that are in the gym every single day. Every single day they're in the gym. All right? And he basically told me that you're going to get out of boxing what you put in. You know, you're going to get out of boxing what you put in. And I started to see that what he was saying was true. I would go to the boxing gym, say on Monday, right? And I would meet a guy there, you know, one of the kids there, young guys, who was working on something. You know, who wasn't getting the left hook right, or who couldn't get the footwork right. And by the time I came back, like say on Thursday, they already fixed that and they were working on something else. It just showed me that the amount of time you put in matters. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how skilled you are. The amount of time that you put into the gym matters. All right? So that's one of the main reasons why I believe we're going to see a better Errol Spence. Look, man, I believe Errol Spence is going to be like Goku. Errol Spence is going to be like Goku. Those of you who watch Dragon Ball Z coming up, you remember when Goku was, he got injured after fighting Vegeta, and Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo went to Namek to find the Dragon Balls. So remember Goku was injured, so I think Bulma she remodeled the capsule that Goku originally came to Earth in. And Goku, on his way to Namek after everyone went ahead of him, you know what I'm saying? He was training, and in the capsule, the gravity was like, you know, exponentially higher than the gravity on Earth. And Goku just like broke his body down, and he got beat up and stuff like that. And then when he reached to Namek, after a few sensu beans, after recovering, he was like 20 times better. Vegeta and Krillin and Gohan, they were struggling with the Ginyu Force, and Goku showed up and just was smoking everybody, you know? So I think that's what's going to happen. I think Errol Spence is going to come back better than ever, you know? Contingent upon the fight, the rematch being at 154, I think Goku's going to, I think Errol Spence is going to come back better than ever. And I think it's going to make for a great fight. And we're truly going to see a better fight than we saw. We're going to see a better fight. And the thing about it, you know what stuck out to me also? You know why I'm so convinced? At the end of the fight, after Errol Spence lost, I normally wait to see what the fighter says. And Errol Spence didn't hesitate to say, man, the next time I'll be better. Hell yeah, I want the rematch. Next time I'll be better. He didn't try to make excuses as to why he lost. You could tell that he was certain of something that wasn't right. He knew that he wasn't himself. Of course, everyone could see it. I mean, there's something, I perceived that there was something different about him, that he wasn't at his best. But just hearing him say that with such conviction, I'll be better next time. Just hearing him say that with conviction, it lets me know that he knows something that we don't know. He knows there's a reason why he wasn't his best. And he is determined to prove that reality in the rematch. So I'm hoping to see the fight at the end of the year, you know, everybody's calling for him to retire. Everybody's calling for him to not fight. But again, listen, Errol Spence, you do what you got to do, all right? You won't be the first to take a tough loss, you know what I'm saying? And you won't be the last. But you got to come back from it, right? Lennox Lewis got knocked out by Hasim Rahman. Lennox Lewis got knocked out by Oliver McCall. He's one of my favorite fighters, and he came back and he avenged those losses. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to the rematch. And that's the SelloMan spotlight on it. Blessings.